Hello, welcome to Flux Bug Scrub number 10. If everyone who's participating today could please find on the spreadsheet this attendees tab and put in your information here, that would be great. So what we would like to do at the start of this meeting is to kind of figure out who's comfortable taking on a job or a role for the meeting. And they're not very complicated jobs. One of the jobs is already done. Someone has to remember to push record at the start of the meeting, which if you're watching this on the recording, you must know has already been done. The other job is the usher or meeting caller, bring people into the meeting from the chat. If there's anyone waiting in the chat who can't find the Zoom invite, just to let them know. That chat, by the way, is the Flux, #Flux or Flux contributors on the CNCF Slack for anyone who's joining us after the fact or next time. And without further ado, we should just get started and start going through issues. Another job that we need to do is kind of to determine where we want to focus. We don't necessarily have to filter too much, but I usually like to filter out all the issues that are especially fresh because they tend to resolve themselves pretty quickly without a lot of input usually. And by the time they're at least 2 to 4 days old, it's usually better for bug scrub, at least because it's not going to solve itself, perhaps, or depending on whether it's a discussion or an issue. PRs might live longer than that. Anyway, so let's filter this to, like I said, between 2 and 5, and this column is pretty good. And we don't have to filter it any more than that, but if anyone wants to work on a particular repo, we can filter down to that. The list is still like hundreds and hundreds of issues. So there's plenty of room to filter it down if there's something that we want to focus on. Otherwise, we'll just start at the top, I guess. And by the way, Sunny, do you want to do the reading? You can share your screen and actually read the issues for the group. I'm going to do the triage role because I have triage across the organization. So as we find issues that need a little follow-up and we want to move on to the next issue, I'll be a little bit behind while you read the issue out loud and we talk about it, if that's okay.
I have to join the call from another computer to do that.
That's okay. We don't worry about that then. We can just flag notes here for how to follow up, and I'll do it after the fact. I don't have to do it on screen.
Okay.
Okay. So 9 days ago, someone reported EKS CRD validation error. This is in the Flux2 repo. And it looks like Stefan responded.
I was going through it. It sounds like the issue was because the user was trying to use some old CRDs with Flux 2. And Stefan told him to try another tool, QEval.
I think I remember this report. The issue is that it's actually a little bit nuanced here because it's Kubernetes 1.22 that actually dropped support for the.
Right, the old CRD API.
But this is Kubernetes 1.21 and EKS. So I think that it's different on EKS because they don't typically enable beta APIs, or they push away from beta things as much as they reasonably can. Like deployment was in beta for a long time and you couldn't use deployments on EKS. I think this one can be closed. I'm just going to mark it that way in the spreadsheet. Close. And we can move on to the next one. Unless anyone else have more to say about that. Don't know what this issue is about. It says remove limitation on spec.eventsources.kind. Okay, so this is for the notification controller. Someone wants to be able to send notifications for any kind of Kubernetes events. And they started a fork, event bridge controller, and they had a problem with that idea. Do you understand this? I don't quite.
No, I have not used notification controller yet, but it sounds like something I heard before. Some people are trying to use the notification controller for receiving or sending notifications for other things than the core Flux supported things. And I heard maybe for now we will not support that. Maybe this is related to that.
Yeah, it looks like they were able to do it. This is target group binding. I don't know what CRD that is, but it's certainly not in the Flux toolkit.
It's an interesting idea.
I don't know that I'm qualified to really respond, but we can prompt them for a response or prompt the group for a response. Do we think this is a good issue to say, like, I'm not sure if this is something Flux wants to support and just leave it open-ended like that, or probably be more encouraging because they came and showed us how to do it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I think first of all, right, like, isn't one of our approaches to thank people for their
Yep. That's where we usually want to start, is whatever it is. If they're bringing up a problem or anything, we start with a thank you, and then
because it's really not. I mean, it's really encouraging anyway for I know Flux is a pretty popular project, but it's very encouraging for folks to take these pieces of the toolkit and see what they can do with them. Because we actually do describe the GitOps toolkit as something to use to build upon for GitOps. I think the question is, do we have a defined scope for notification controller that it really is only related to Flux things, or let's say GitOps related things? And if we do want people to use the toolkit for building additional GitOps functionality, it does seem to me to make sense to have ways for others to define the things that they have built, or maybe that others have built, that tie into their GitOps solution. I mean, at least that's my gut response, but I'm not a notifications controller maintainer. So I think it would be good to actually take a look to see if we've written down anything that is explicitly out of scope, where this can just be answered. And if not, then it sounds like a question that the maintainers can answer, because they'll have to maintain anything that's added. I'm literally just saying whatever just came into my head. So
yeah, I'm trying to stream of thought transcribe it into something in a reasonably close facsimile, because you said it pretty well.
Okay.
Whatever it is, we'll have to maintain it if we agree to merge it. So if it's very easy to maintain, it might be very easy to get it merged.
The other thing to keep in mind is something might be easy to maintain, or at least change itself might be easy to maintain, but it might open up a Pandora's box of additional issues that are considered out of scope for the project, that would make maintaining the project potentially very difficult. So it's I think that's part of the decision too that the maintainers have to make, is do they want to open that piece of it up to be a bit more generic or not?
I'm putting the cart in front of the horse, if I say this correctly, in front of the horse, because it's not presented in the form of a PR. But you're doing this right, I think they really want people to ask before they send in the PR.
Yeah, it's mainly for their sake, right? It's mainly for the sake of the contributor. So a contributor or a potential contributor doesn't feel burnt out by putting in a lot of work into a direction that could have been clarified before they put in that work. So there's nothing wrong with starting a PR if someone wants to do that, as long as they're perfectly happy for it to be completely, not dismissed, but completely redirected somehow.
If it's not going to get merged, we don't want them to proceed unless they really, really want to. And
Yeah, exactly. We certainly aren't asking them to do extra work without a conversation first.
I think that's a good response. I say it about right here. Is there any guidance? Put the kind of.
Maybe just that. Should we, in your third paragraph there, do you, like, is there any guidance? Is that a question for the notification controller maintainers?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should say that outright. Or maybe, yeah, exactly. And since you have triage access, are you able to assign it to notification maintainers, or?
I could, but I think they're all subscribed anyway. So
Okay.
It's probably better to just leave it unassigned unless someone's agreed to follow it up.
Do we have a question label? A label called question?
Oh yeah, there is one, I think. Question, further information. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll try to find out the answer for that, talking to Stefan or Hideo. And I can let you know what they think about this.
Cool.
Or also Semtochi, because I believe.
All right, Semtochi is also the media.
Yeah.
That's good.
I guess we can always just look at the maintainers file and the, any repo. Anyway, sorry, I hope I didn't interject too much. I think I said I had other things.
No, that's what this is for.
Yeah, okay, good.
Thank you, because I can't do it all by myself. There's too many tabs and too much, like, this is much more fruitful than going through the list as an individual. Although that works too. So am I saying this right? The EKS 1.21 has deprecated and removed the CRD v1 beta 1 API. And that is why they are getting this message about unknown field version. No, that's not right. I'm not sure I understood this issue anymore. Oh. Okay, so it's worse than that. They knew that the V1 API was required now. They just went in and changed the version in their CRD resources and they didn't update anything else. but
Yeah.
it's actually completely different. I'm just not going to address this.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
maybe-
Do we have, a label that's something like waiting on?
Response.
Yeah, like waiting on, like, I'm trying to think of the right wording for it, but yeah, it's been a little while since I've created labels like this, but essentially waiting for a response from the person who posted the issue. I know question can be used for that too.
I think this is where we're at right now. This isn't really a report. Is that too forward?
Tagging, yeah, it's
Tag someone's
it's
issue
too
is
explicit.
might get the wrong idea.
Not invalid.
It definitely doesn't sound like a friendly word to use. Invalid. I think it sounds like we are waiting
Question?
for. Yeah, I think question is really the right thing
It's
too.
more of a question, and you're waiting
I'm
for.
gonna tag it
the
with both
response.
of these here. If they have some follow-up, then it might not be invalid. Otherwise, I'll remove the question label and close it.
Yeah, I wonder if, yeah, that's very interesting. I wonder where these labels came from.
I think most of them are the default labels that you get, but there's a bunch that have definitely been added because we have like Bootstrap and specific things related to our, one repo or another. We are not sure there is an issue here.
Sorry, Sunny, go ahead.
Is there a bot to close any stale issues after 90 days or something?
There is such a bot, but we don't have it implemented, and I don't personally think that we should, because I've seen what it results in like a lot of other repos, where there might be a good issue that just no one feels like following up, and so it gets closed. And I mean,
right, yeah, not because of the fault of the original post, but because of our lack of resources and getting to them all in time.
Yeah, I think the point of Bug Scrub is to really make sure that someone looks at issues before they get closed. And we can close them aggressively when we feel like we've looked at enough issues, and we have once we're a little bit more comfortable with this format as a group, we move a lot faster. We had one day where this actually turned into a 2 or 3 hour event, and we burned through like 40 or 50 issues in that time, and had some really good discussions. Okay, remind people to check over the style guide and assign reviewers.
To me, this seems like something that should be in the documentation, right, in the contributing documentation for the website.
Yeah, I think we need to figure out what action item is here, because there's at least one action item, and I think that we've had discussions about how reviewers can be assigned automatically. That's something I'd be a lot more in favor of than the bot that goes along and closes things if they're too stale.
Yeah, on other projects we've had random, not random, yeah, a random selection of reviewers based on from the owner's file and in Kubernetes based projects for the maintainer's file here.
GitHub also provides a way, right? There is some GitHub owner's file. You can put everybody's name and they'll get automatically assigned.
Yeah.
Do we use that in Flux?
I don't believe we do, right? At least not on the projects I'm thinking of. I think it may be because, I'm not really sure why that is, but it may be because different people have different areas of expertise. And I don't know that the bot would know which is which, but
you can mark like these files belong to this person. So if you edit these files, this person would be assigned. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. If it were easy to demarcate like that, yeah, that'd be cool.
GitHub GitHub has a way you can create .git directory, the repository, and create a code owners file. And there you can have a regular expression for the files, and you can assign a person who will be assigned if that file is changed.
Yeah, code owners is great. And then, if the person who's assigned randomly isn't the right person, they're on a short list of people who are the most likely to know who is the right person, at least, so they can always reassign it to whoever's the right person. This is, by the way, the style guide. I don't know if everyone's looked at it. Scott, you've probably seen it already, but
I actually have not looked over this in depth, which is funny because I've contributed a bunch of. maybe I'm one of the people she's talking about.
that's what we're doing here. We're looking at the issues, and it says remind people to check over the style guide. So we should probably just look at it at the very least.
Is there?
I did not know that was the standard. I've been doing it wrong. What was your question, Scott? Sorry.
No, I have not. When was this added?
I don't know, but Allison just opened this about 9 days ago.
Okay, cool. That's great. I'm not sure an issue is the right place to put a reminder like this, because it's one of those things that you want to be persistent and you want to be able to close out issues. So I'm not.
I think she makes a PR template, right? Whenever you create a PR, there will be a template asking you some questions, a checklist of things.
It could be, yeah. Actually, you're right. A PR template, yeah.
Mm.
I see what she's saying. Update the template to do this. Got it.
So template should have a link to the style guide. And assigning reviewers is another way you can use GitHub code owners for that.
Yeah, perfect. Right. All right. I'm gonna actually shut up now for a little bit. Finish this little task.
I think the issue is about creating a PR template. I don't see a PR template at the moment. But do we have? Well, there is one. DG PR. That's a GitHub workflow.
Yeah, maybe code owners, using a code owners file for auto assignment could be a separate issue.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to split it until there's someone who's willing to take on either side of the issue. So I'm just going to mark that we did read it. That's really where I started when I had this process that I started using for Flux V1. Like, my first goal was just to make sure that I had actually read every issue in the queue, because there were like 400 issues and I didn't really have a complete picture of what could be closed and what could be followed up. So this one is a discussion here, and a lot of discussions are never really finished, I guess. That's what I wanted to say. Variable substitution. Oh, I've seen this. This is a very strange issue. And someone did solve it. If I can find the Slack conversation, it'll be a miracle, though. Maybe I pinned it to my profile or something like that. So this is env-subst that does this substitution. And I do have the thread. You have to do something like this. And I'm just going to link to it here. Does this link work for anyone? I've had mixed results with Slack links. Sometimes they don't work on mobile, but they work on the other one.
It works for me. Yeah, I opened the thread.
This one is answered, and we can filter out answered threads if we want. But I thought it might be good to start reading some of them too. What resources does prune remove? Please see the garbage collector docs. Does it remove resources managed by other services and CRDs, certificates by cert manager? I wonder how really fully this question is answered. Oh. Owner reference, block deletion equals true. Yeah, there was an issue recently about this where I think it was a Streamzy operator for Zookeeper or something. It wasn't doing this properly, and it was copying annotations, I think, or maybe both. So do you know what I think this person is driving at here is that if you create an ingress and then you delete the ingress, what happens to the certificate if it was connected to cert manager and cert manager generated a certificate for it? Have you ever used a cert manager before?
I have.
Or tools like that, yeah. So I think that cert manager deletes the certificate is the answer, and I don't think there's much else we can add here. I think that's what this person tripped over, that they were expecting their certificate to stick around after they deleted the ingress, but the cert manager uses this owner reference for deletion, and the owner was gone, so it followed up by deleting the certificate. I think we should have a guide that explains how to capture secrets, but I don't know how high priority this should be. I do this in my own Flux repo where if you've used Cert Manager and you've used it on a disposable cluster, you probably know that there's a rate limit of you can only regenerate the same exact certificate 5 times in a 7-day period. So if you're rebuilding your cluster every day and you're working 5 days a week, you'll be fine. But if you're working 6 or 7 days a week, you're going to hit this rate limit. And if you're rebuilding your cluster more than once a day,
yeah.
It
also depends on the cert provider, right? You can, sorry. Are you talking about the Let's Encrypt prod API limits?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any other way to use Cert Manager where it doesn't actually just store the TLS secret in a TLS secret.
Yeah, there are different options
Yeah.
for Cert Manager.
Self-sign?
Yeah, you can do self-sign. You can use you can use what is it? Anyway, my brain is spacing out, but there are several other cert types. You can use what is it? Amazon's is it ACM? Anyway, the certificate management option that they have. You can use Cloudflare. You can use different providers.
Well, anyway, what I usually do once I generated a certificate that I want to keep around so I don't hit that rate limit is I start I have a single customization in my big cluster repo here for secrets. And it has a directory for each cluster, and it just manages all the secrets for that cluster that need to be persisted from one instantiation to the other. And I have a feeling I'm going to give up doing this after about 90 days. But by then, maybe I won't need to reboot my cluster from scratch every other day anymore. I'm still doing that a lot. Anyway, I just take the secret and encrypt it with SOPs. So it's encrypted here and push it out in the repo. And I'm also running it through kubectl neat. So if I did get secret like that, that's not what it's called. What was it called? Name. Oh, that's what it's called. Okay. Does everyone know the kubectl neat plugin? It's great.
I actually have not used that. No.
What is it?
It takes all of the, oops. I want the YAML. Takes all of the redundant fields out of the YAML. So here's my certificate key. I'm gonna have to scrub this from the recording, but unencrypted. But what you can see here is that it's removes all of the if I do this without kubectl neat, all of the extra garbage like
Dates and so on.
Resource version and the UID, the things that you don't really want to save into a file.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, there's another, anyway, that's really cool. Kingdom, what would you think about, I don't know if that belongs really in the Flux guides, but in a tips and tricks, maybe a short tips and tricks page somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where that belongs because I feel like it's pretty niche and pretty home lab. Like it seems like something that should be documented somewhere, but I don't want to put it anywhere prominent because I feel like most people are going to, what do I need this for? I'm not nuking my cluster 6 times a week. And even if I were, I don't know.
I would think it would be a good blog post maybe for your, for yourself or
maybe I'll put that on my own personal blog.
That's a personal blog and or gist or something that you can then point to. It's a very nice little set of steps you have there.
This can be used for linting purposes, like when you commit some manifest, clean it up.
It's not perfect either. I've noticed there are some things it doesn't remove that I would really like it to remove, but it does most of it. I think the thing I'm thinking of in particular is an owner ref. Yeah, when I'm exporting persistent volumes, that's the other thing that I use this technique for, because I'm using the local path provisioner and I have nodes that don't go away. They're physical machines. I can count on, as long as I had my persistent volume set to retain rather than delete, I can count on the host path directory still being there and opt local path provisioner big long random GUID name. So I can load PVs onto a cluster, like I'm using it for the certificate store for my OpenVPN server. So I have an OpenVPN server that lets me into my cluster remotely, and I can talk to the WeaveNet service and pod CNI subnets that way directly. It's pretty neat. This puts me on the cluster DNS and everything. Anyway, complete wild tangent. Install multiple Helm charts with different values files in the same namespace. Not sure why this needs its own example, but 2 people thought that this was missing.
What are they actually trying to do? I'm missing. Because you can install you can install multiple Helm charts in the same namespace already. There's nothing preventing you from doing that with the.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do that without having 2 copies. And the thing they're running into is that you need in order to patch a resource, it needs to have a unique name and namespace.
Oh, well, I see what they're saying. Like, can we use customized overlays to have one Helm release definition? But yeah, they can just use customized overlays to do it differently than say that customized Helm, that Flux 2 customized Helm example that Stefan wrote is doing. So, for example, you can have an overlay.
Oh, I see. This person is basically giving them the gentle letdown.
Yeah.
You have to define a Helm release per instance. Just do it. I'm just going to mark that as the answer because they got a thumbs up for it. So.
Oh, you don't actually have to do that though. You could use a customized overlay to have, one resource, with different variables, So.
But you can't do that in the same namespace.
You could if you change the name of the Helm release.
Then you have to have 2 copies of the Helm release.
You could change that with a customized overlay. So, for example, if you have a Helm release that just where the name of the release is change me, and then you have a customized overlay that says that patches that change me to say release 1, and you have another.
That's what I'm trying to say. You can't patch the name. The name is part of. Can you? Is there some patch format you can use, like maybe JSON patch, where?
I believe you can. Why not? Right now we're talking about the customized patching functionality
yeah, so
I could be wrong.
How I write a patch when I write a patch for customize overlay is usually using patches strategic merge. So the first thing I do is write a file that has the API version, name and namespace. So all of those attributes of the file that I want to patch, or the resource that I want to patch. So it can't patch the name, is what I'm saying, because the name is part of the key.
I see what you're saying. Let's see.
So you really need to have one resource defined per instance. But maybe there's some other patch mode like JSON patch. You can do a lot of weird things. Someone was asking this morning, how do I do config map generator that recycles the pod when it generates a new secret? Sorry, not config map, but a secret generator. And I thought that I wasn't going to be able to help them, but they were able to mash through it somehow with the JSON patch type. They
Yeah,
specified like some volume path to patch with the name of the generated resource, because config map generator or secret generator, you can use one of two ways. You can either generate a resource with that 5-letter random string in the name, in which case every time you generate a new resource, it will be a new separate resource and not overwrite the previous resource. So you usually only do that once, I think. Or you can truncate the suffix so that it just generates the same name every time. And I think that they had truncated the suffix so that they didn't have to do any funny business with a randomly generated name. And they found that actually that was what they needed, because changing the secret's name in the pod spec was the trick to making the rollout proceed. It says, oh, this is a new pod spec, so we need new pods now. And without that, they would have to find another way to roll out recycle or whatever their pods.
gotcha. Maybe we should just look
Comparatively.
into that, whether the JSON patch could fix this.
Yeah.
I can't right now, unfortunately.
I'm not sure I'm gonna have time for that either, but just something interesting to talk about at the bug scrub at least.
Should we note that on there? Like, you may want to look into or even just no one on the bug scrub today was able to rule out the possibility that JSON patch might help to solve this issue. So it might be worth looking into.
I'm just gonna mark the answer and let them respond if it wasn't the answer.
Got it. Okay.
That's what I'm gonna leave it at. We discussed it. Actually, it gets some metal. Flux 2 migration on GKE cluster. Oh, we're at 2 o'clock, by the way, if anyone has a prior commitment following this, you're welcome to, won't be offended. I don't really want to go on too long past the closing time, but we've got one issue here. We'll follow this one and then call it a day, unless anyone really wants to keep going. Looks like this one was answered. So there is a doc for GKE workload identity configuration, and it uses either of these access method types. I don't really have a real strong desire to go into the details of that and understand it, but if I was using GKE, I probably would. It's cool. I think we probably will filter out answered discussions for next time. I think that would make more sense. So we have plenty of unanswered discussions. So we don't need to focus on anything that has already got attention. But thanks both of you for joining us here. It's been a great discussion. Going to close the recording.
Thanks, Kingdom.
I didn't